We hear about lasers a lot. They're everywhere. Lasers cut metal. They read CDs and DVDs. They make those cool light shows. Lasers are about making light. They take a little bit of energy. Then they make a lot of very specific light. It's focused, it's powerful. But what if you could do the exact opposite? What if you could make something that swallows light? Not just some light, not just most light. What if it could swallow all the light hitting it? And what if it did this perfectly? What if it took specific light and just made it disappear, turned it into energy inside the material? Well, that sounds like a sci-fi idea, but it's real. People call it an anti-laser. The real name is Coherent Perfect Absorber. That's a mouthful. But anti-laser really tells you what it is. It's like the mirror image of a laser. A laser takes energy and spits out a very special kind of light. An anti-laser takes that very special kind of light and sucks it all in. It turns it into energy. It's a fascinating idea, and it has some wild implications. First, let's just think about lasers for a minute. What makes a laser a laser? It's not just a really bright flashlight. A flashlight makes light that spreads out. It's a mix of colors, mostly. And it's not very organized. The laser light is different. It's all one color, usually, and all the light waves are lined up. They march in step, like soldiers. This is called coherence. It's why laser light can be so focused. It's why it can travel long distances without spreading much. Lasers work by taking atoms or molecules. You pump energy into them. This makes their electrons jump to higher energy levels. They get excited, but they don't stay excited for long. They want to fall back down. When they fall, they give off a tiny packet of light, a photon. In a laser, you put these excited atoms in a special box. This box has mirrors at both ends. Light bounces back and forth. As it bounces, it hits other excited atoms. This makes them give off their light, and it happens in step with the light that hit them. This is called stimulated emission. More and more light gets made. It's like a chain reaction. One mirror lets a little bit of this super bright, super organized light out. That's your laser beam. So a laser is a light source. It makes light. It amplifies light. It takes a small seed of light and makes it grow very, very big. It's all about making light. Now, imagine the opposite. What if you wanted to destroy light? Not just block it, not just reflect it, but truly absorb every single bit of it. No reflection, no light passing through, just gone. And what if this absorption was also very specific? That's like how a laser makes specific light. This is the core idea of an anti-laser. It's not just a black paint or a black hole. A black hole absorbs everything, sure, but it's gravity doing the work. And black paint absorbs a lot of light, but not all of it. And it definitely doesn't do it perfectly for a specific kind of light. Even the blackest material ever made, like Vantablack, still reflects a tiny, tiny bit of light. An anti-laser aims for perfect absorption, zero reflection, zero transmission for specific light inputs. The key word here is coherent. Just like laser light is coherent, the light an anti-laser absorbs also has to be coherent. This means it's not just absorbing any random light. It's absorbing light that's very organized. A light where all the waves are in step. Think of it like this. Imagine you have two identical sound waves. If you play them at the same time, they just get louder. But what if one wave is perfectly out of step with the other? Or like when one is going up, the other is going down. If they're perfectly matched but opposite, they cancel each other out. You hear nothing. This is called destructive interference. Light works like waves too. And an anti-laser uses this idea. It's not about two beams canceling each other out in empty space. It's about how light waves interact inside a special material. Here's a simplified way to think about how an anti-laser works. You need at least two laser beams that need to hit a special material at just the right spots. And they need to be perfectly in sync. Their phases have to be just right. This special material is often a very thin slice of a semiconductor like silicon. It's usually placed between mirrors, much like a laser cavity. But here, the mirrors are designed to reflect the light back into the material. When the two laser beams hit this setup, they travel into the material. They bounce around inside this special cavity. As they bounce, they interfere with each other, but they also interfere with themselves as they reflect from the mirrors. The whole system is designed so that all the light waves from all the beams perfectly cancel out at the points where they would normally escape the material. So the light that would normally reflect back out, it gets destructively interfered with. It's canceled out. The light that would normally pass through, it also gets canceled out. There's nowhere for the light to go. It can't escape. All that light energy gets trapped inside the material. And what happens to trapped energy? it turns into heat. The material warms up. So an anti-laser is essentially a very efficient heater for specific coherent light. This is a deep idea. It's not just making a really dark thing. It's about designing a system that uses the wave nature of light against itself. It makes light literally disappear by turning it into another form of energy, and it does this perfectly for the light it's designed for. The concept was first proposed in 2010 by scientists at Yale University, specifically a group led by Professor Douglas Stone. They didn't just propose it, they showed how it could work using math, and they built one. Their first anti-laser was a tiny, thin silicon wafer. It was only about 1/1000th of an inch thick. This wafer sat between two mirrors. They shined two laser beams onto it. These beams had just the right wavelength. And they were perfectly in step. When they turned on the lasers, something amazing happened. Almost 99.4% of the light disappeared. It was absorbed. That was a big step. They refined it. Later versions got even closer to 100%. This wasn't just a theoretical idea, it was real. Think about the name again. Coherent Perfect Absorber. Coherent because it works with coherent light like a laser's light. Perfect because it aims for 100% absorption. And absorber because that's what it does. How is this different from just putting light into something that absorbs it anyway? Like a solar panel absorbs sunlight, it turns it into electricity. But a solar panel isn't perfect. It reflects some light, it lets some light pass through. And most importantly, sunlight isn't coherent. It's a mix of colors, and the waves are all jumbled up. A solar panel works on a broad range of light. An anti-laser is super picky. It's only interested in very specific organized light. It's also different from a black body. A black body is a theoretical object. It absorbs all electromagnetic radiation that hits it. No reflection, no transmission. That sounds like an anti-laser, right? But there's a big difference. A black body also emits radiation. It glows when it gets hot. Think of a hot piece of metal. It glows red. A black body is in constant balance, it absorbs, and it emits. An anti-laser's goal is purely to absorb specific incoming coherent light, with no re-emission of that specific light. It turns that light into internal energy, often heat. It's about taking specific ordered energy coherent light and turning it into disordered energy heat. The time reversal idea helps us understand the anti-laser name even better. Imagine you film a laser beam shooting out of a laser. Now, play that film backwards. What do you see? You see the laser beam going into the laser. The laser is absorbing it perfectly. That's essentially what an anti-laser does. It's like a laser running in reverse. The physics equations that describe a laser emitting light can be run backwards to describe an anti-laser absorbing light. It's a beautiful symmetry in physics, so, okay, it's cool science, but what's it good for? Why bother building something that just makes light disappear? This is where the applications come in. And they could be huge. One big area is sensors. Imagine you want to detect a very specific laser signal. Like in communication or for security. An anti-laser can be designed to perfectly absorb only that one specific signal. If even a tiny bit of that light isn't absorbed, it means something is wrong, or it means the signal isn't exactly what it should be. This could lead to incredibly sensitive detectors. You could detect minute changes in a laser beam's frequency or phase. This is because if the incoming light isn't perfectly matched, the anti-laser won't absorb it perfectly. Some light will reflect or transmit. That tiny bit of escaping light is your signal. Another potential use is in imaging. Think about medical imaging. Doctors use light in many ways. If you could precisely target and absorb light in certain tissues, it could improve contrast. Or it can help with therapies. For example, some cancer therapies use lasers to heat and destroy cancer cells. If you could design an anti-laser that only absorbs the specific laser light in the cancer cells and nowhere else, that would be amazing. The light would perfectly heat the tumor without affecting healthy tissue nearby. This is very difficult, but the principle of perfect targeted absorption is key. Energy harvesting is another big one. We already talked about solar panels. Sunlight is incoherent. So a direct anti-laser for general sunlight doesn't make sense right now. But what if you have a specific light source? Like a laser that needs to transfer its energy somewhere else? Or maybe in space, where you could have very specific directed beams of light. An anti-laser could absorb that light with nearly 100% efficiency and turn it into heat. This heat could then be used for power generation. It's not about making a new solar panel for your roof. It's about highly efficient capture of specific light energy in specialized systems. Think about optical computing. This is a field where people are trying to use light instead of electricity to do calculations. Light is fast, light doesn't generate much heat when it moves. In optical computing, you need switches. You need ways to turn light signals on and off. An anti-laser could act as a perfect optical switch. If the conditions are met, the light is absorbed. That's an off or zero state. If the conditions aren't met, the light reflects or transmits. That's an on or one state. This could lead to much faster and more efficient optical chips. What about stealth technology? Imagine if a military vehicle or aircraft needed to be invisible to a specific enemy laser. If you could coat it with a material that acts as an anti-laser for that specific laser's wavelength, the incoming laser light would be perfectly absorbed. No reflection back to the enemy's detector, no light passing through. The object would literally disappear to that specific laser. This is a very complex engineering challenge, but the underlying physics is sound. There are also ideas for secure communication. If you are sending a very specific laser signal and only the intended receiver has an anti-laser tuned to perfectly absorb that signal, it adds a layer of security. Any attempt to intercept or measure the signal would disrupt the perfect absorption. The perfect absorption becomes a kind of handshake. Beyond that, consider quantum technologies. The principles of coherent perfect absorption can be extended to single photons. This opens up doors for quantum information processing. Imagine absorbing a single photon perfectly without losing any information contained within its quantum state. That's extremely powerful for building future quantum computers or quantum communication networks. But it's not all easy. There are big challenges. First, the big one, coherence. Anti-lasers need coherent light. Most of the light we interact with every day is incoherent. Sunlight is incoherent. Light from a light bulb is incoherent. So an anti-laser isn't going to make your windows perfectly black to sunlight. It's a specialized tool for specialized light. This limits its everyday applications. Second, specificity. An anti-laser is typically designed for a very specific wavelength of light, and often for a very specific angle of incoming light, and specific phases between multiple beams. This means it's not a general-purpose light absorber. If you change the color of the laser or the angle, the perfect absorption goes away. Making a broadband anti-laser that absorbs many colors perfectly at once is very, very hard. Researchers are working on it, but it's not simple. Third, material science. The materials used need to be able to handle the energy. When light is absorbed perfectly, it turns into heat. If too much light is absorbed, the material can melt or break. So the materials need to be robust, and they need to be structured very precisely. This often involves tiny structures on the scale of the light's wavelength. Making these metamaterials is complex. Fourth, tunability. Can you make an anti-laser that can change what light it absorbs? Imagine a sensor that can switch between detecting red laser light and blue laser light. This is called tunability. Making a tunable anti-laser is an active area of research. Some progress has been made using materials that change their properties with temperature or electricity, but it adds complexity. Fifth, scalability. Can we make big anti-lasers or just tiny ones? For some applications like optical computing, tiny is fine. For stealth technology on an aircraft, you'd need large surfaces. Making a large area anti-laser that works perfectly across the whole surface is a significant engineering hurdle. Despite these challenges, the idea of an anti-laser is a powerful one. It forces us to think about light and materials in new ways. It shows us that light isn't just something we create or block. We can manipulate its very wave nature to make it vanish. The future of anti-lasers is likely in these specialized fields: highly sensitive detectors, precision energy transfer, advanced optical switches, and maybe even new forms of medical treatment. It might not be something you see in your home anytime soon, but it's a testament to how deep physics can lead to completely new technologies. Our researchers are pushing the boundaries. They're looking for ways to make anti-lasers that work with less specific input light. They're trying to make them more tunable. They're exploring ways to integrate them into complex systems. Some are even looking at active anti-lasers. These would not just passively absorb light, but would use external energy to actively control and enhance the absorption process. It's all about control. A laser gives us amazing control over making light. An anti-laser offers similar, equally powerful control over making light disappear. It completes a circle in our understanding of how light interacts with matter. It's a powerful tool in the ongoing quest to master light itself. And it's a very clear example of how looking at a problem from the opposite direction can lead to completely new and exciting discoveries. It reminds us that often the answers are already there, just waiting for us to see them in reverse.